Good morning and welcome to the daily cyber briefing for Monday, the 6th of October. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Starting off, I intend to go on. So the autumn season of the daily cyber briefing is back. I'll be running up till Christmas. I'll changed formats, perhaps. You might as well see me. Even this early in the morning. I'm probably not quite off-putting enough that you'll choke on your coffee, but so there we go. And we may invite some special guests to talk on the briefing as well going forward. Thinking at the moment that I might invite people to talk from our engineering and SOC services to discuss what we've been seeing hitting our honeypot over the week. So probably on Fridays, but we'll see how we go with that one. Anyway, in the meantime, let's get stuck in. So Oracle has rushed through a patch for CVE 2025 61882 after the CLOP group has exploited it in data theft, exploited the vulnerability in data theft attacks. So the CVE is for an unspecified bug, which is interesting. You can get a CVE for an unspecified bug, but it's got a CVSS score of 9.8. And it allows an unauthenticated attacker to access over the network via HTTP, compromise and take control of Oracle Concurrent Processing components. There are there are indicators of compromise in the article, which we will link to the briefing. The solution, though, is the patch. So if you are running that particular component from Oracle, look out for the patch and apply at your earliest convenience. There has been a proof of concept released for the Sudo flaws that have been in the news quite a bit recently. So the vulnerability is tracked as CVE 2025-32463. And it's a local privilege escalation that affects Sudo versions 1.9.14 up to 1.9.17. The patched version is 1.9.17p1. So definitely, if you are running a Linux estate, it is worth looking to see what versions of Sudo are running in your particular distribution, and look out for patches. If you're running a well-known distribution, probably best to get the patch via that distribution. If you build your own, of course, you can just go and download the components and build it in. If you are stuck as to which versions you can use, bear in mind that frameworks such as AppArmor or SELinux can be used to mitigate this, not address the root cause, but can be used to mitigate the effects of this, or in fact, reduce the successfulness of this particular attack. Now, bear in mind, once a POC has been published, everyone will be looking to see, does the POC work? There'll be you can expect a lot of interest to be spawned off the back of that, not necessarily from sophisticated adversary groups, but entirely possibly from the usual board non-malicious but curious types. So there will be activity on this particular one. So check if you are running a vulnerable version. Very much recommend that you upgrade. If you can't upgrade, look to see whether you can do something via AppArmor or SELinux to mitigate the risk. And then finally from me today, I'm going to wade in on the UK's digital ID discussion. Yes, I can see why digital ID is attractive, and yeah, I am well aware of the fact, having I've lived abroad in the past. I am aware that in other European countries, ID cards are very common, and yes, you do need them for normal sorts of things, interactions with officialdom. There are a lot more interactions with officialdom. Well, I say I lived in Germany, and there was a lot of interactions with officialdom. You couldn't really do very much unless you were interacting with things which in the UK you could just go ahead and do. In Germany you couldn't, certainly not in the 90s when I was there. So ID cards are not necessarily an unusual thing, and we've had ID cards in the UK in the past. During the Second World War and post-Second World War, ID cards were required. They got phased out, at least in part, as a demonstration of post-war freedoms and concerns of excessive intrusion of the state into the lives of its citizens. And I've talked about this in the past before, that any government which takes an excessive interest in the minutiae of the lives of its citizens is not up to good stuff. They may think they're doing it for good and noble reasons, but they're not. They're misguided in that respect. However, the particular concern that I have, and it's reflected in this particular article from Cybersecurity News, but it's that in itself is a reasonable reflection of a lot of concern across the industry, tech industry and cyber infosec in particular. The government has a really bad record, and by government I'm going to include any pseudo government stuff, quangos, heavily regulated organizations like the Royal Mail or Post Office and whatever. There is a terrible record of, firstly, not implementing well. The blooming amount of money wasted on the COVID pass was utterly useless, and addressing actually the wrong thing entirely. But so they're not good at implementing it. They're not good at running it. But even worse, they're not good at securing any of this stuff. And I think it's concerning that if we're going to have digital IDs, that data will be leaked. So that there isn't an if or a question about that. That data will be leaked at some point. It also creates a wonderful opportunity for disruption to regimes who wish to disrupt the West. If you can, just imagine the effect of ransomware on the digital ID system. You can no longer get a job. You might not be able to move house. You might not be able to rent somewhere. What about banking? Well, you can't use your bank without your digital ID. It's all there. Even government quangos like GCHQ are a little bit concerned. I think they're probably deeply concerned. They're just not going to admit it because they've got to toe the line. That this is going to be not our finest hour. So if you are concerned about these things, I mean, there's little that one can do with this government in place trying to drive through this stuff. I think it is worth thinking about whether you support this, what will be a massive intrusion into your personal lives, whether you are comfortable with whatever data they hold on you being made available to criminals via the stupidity of the implementation. There we go, said it. And really all you can do, I think, is press for a serious discussion in Parliament, which there hasn't been so far, as to what are we doing in this space? What is it actually? And by the way, I'm absolutely convinced it will have a minimal impact on the issues of illegal immigration into the UK. Firstly, because there's already a roaring trade in any of the means of identification that you need in order to live and work in the UK, and this will just become another one. So there's a wonderful black market for second-hand national insurance numbers for illegals working in the UK. And I don't know why we just ignore. So if somebody has gone to the trouble of coming to the UK, they're not going to be put off by minor inconveniences like this, and it really won't actually stop people from working in the UK. If they're willing to work illegally, they'll work illegally anyway. So it's just it's an imposition of inconvenience and potential risk to the vast majority. Although interestingly, controlling the vast majority ostensibly to look out for a tiny percentage of problem. Department of Work and Pensions is busily resurrecting its already passed laws that give them the ability to, at their discretion, recover money from your bank account if they think that you've been overpaid benefits of some kind. The HMRC can recover directly from your bank account tax if they want to, based on their opinion of whether you owe it or not. There's a lot of stuff going on here which is really quite worrying in the digital space, and digital IDs will make their ability to mess with you easier, whilst in the meantime being deeply insecure. Fundamentally insecure, I am certain, because they just can't do it right. So what a mess. Write to your MP, complain, try to get some proper discussions around these things. What are we trying to do here? Anyway, and on that cheery note, that's enough from me for today. Hope you have a good start to the week, and I will hopefully speak to you